Uriah Jacobius hails back to the days of pewter and VHS tapes. Paired with the Sisters of Battle Codex release, models like this showed a new face of the Imperium that was mostly depicted in illustrations. The work of John Blanche is a clear inspiration on this model, and as I build an army of kit bashes, along comes a figurine, one who has always been before, that needs no modification. Demons? I'd be more afraid of coyotes if I was you. Greetings, chromatic warriors. I had to get that out of my system, alright? In a world of scope lasers, bioplasmic vomit, and guns that shoot smaller guns, a priest walks into a bar. At that bar sits my kit-bashed Trench Crusade army. The priest joins them, and they see no difference between their own appearance and his. I've had this model standing by for some time, and as I've been collecting parts for potential Trench Crusaders, this guy wound up in the bin. Let's paint. I'll work from the ground up, taking from Tainted Garden, the Darkness, and Sunburst Ochre. I'll wet blend the base, laying a layer of Tainted Garden as the main ingredient and pressing the Darkness into the sides and rear in the base to create some shading. Then small patches of Sunburst Ochre to create patches of regular muds. Adding heavy metal and ivory white to the palette, I'll dry brush the rubble with the ivory and give the cable a coat of heavy metal. Painting the ground made of so many varied surfaces in this uniform mud palette is very satisfying. Moving up. It's a wise move to work from the inside out on a model. The ragged cloak will first be base coated with the Darkness and then highlighted with small amounts of ivory white. Keeping the zenithal light source in mind, I'll make sure the upper thigh is the most bright and the folds carry a highlight as well. Lots of wet blending. Adding Banshee brown to the palette, I started chopping away at the inner pelt wrapped around his shoulders. Approaching that with a mixture of Banshee brown and Tainted Garden. Other areas like the banner pole, belts, shoes, etc. were brought up with a mixture of Banshee brown and Sunburst Ochre or Banshee brown and ivory white, always with the Darkness wet blended into shade. A real dance of brown tones, and I don't think I can really mess up here. The intention is just to create a variation among these browns, so kind of mix and match and try not to place any of these combinations right next to each other. For the cold steel of the boomstick and the skull bracer, I wanted to mix a deeper, more dull metallic. I combined heavy metal, the Darkness, and Ironhull gray together. I was eager to get these done. Usually I save the metals for later, but my mind was on the shotgun and the small experiment that color combo would be. And real quick, as I'm painting and discovering the model, I should choose a color for the actual shotgun shells. Tainted Garden it is. The nonsensical armor plates were base coated with a mixture of Moonbeam yellow and fiery Vermillion to produce an orange tone. And then I would wet blend more yellow into the upper areas to highlight, and with a dash of the Darkness to shade. Sure, I could use an out-of-the-bottle color, but I already have the red and the yellow on my palette and enjoy seeing what I can make with restricted color choices. It's just fun for my brain. Do whatever you like. There are many little doodads on his backpack, and the chainsword casing will be painted up with Moonbeam yellow and Sunburst Ochre. I've got some yellow going as an off color through the rest of my Trench Crusade gang. But let's keep it moving. The banner will be based with a mixture of Sunburst Ochre and Ivory White, going very heavy on the Ivory White. No, this looks bad. This is a bad decision. I'll exchange that for a mix of Tainted Garden and Ivory White. The other tones were too lively for the material I wanted to represent. It's more harmonious this way. This will work for the purity seals and the spare skull as well, so I'll give those a pass too. Gradually, I'll keep adding more Ivory White into that Tainted Garden mixture and just layer highlight the banner, purity seals, and the lone backup skull. I want this to read as a lighter cloth material, so reducing its depth of shadow will help it look lighter in comparison to the other heavier materials. You want to keep a material variety in mind for intelligent painting. The beard and magnificent pelt have also been base coated with Ivory White. I used a few layers to build this up, but it carries the same theory as the banner. To shade, I'll use the texture to my advantage and lay diluted coats of Ivory White and Tainted Garden in place. Keep this mix on the lighter side and emphasize the gradual volumes. There are 2 larger inward folds on the cape, so that is where I'll concentrate the deeper colors. Within the beard, I can see some fun skull beads and a real cool medallion. I'll make those and the crown special by mixing heavy metal and emperor gold together. It lands somewhere between the muted nothingness of silver and the audacious gold. I'm more comfortable this way. Finally, I'll add some diluted Moonbeam yellow to the brazier and those inner eyes, and I say finally because the next step is a big one. It's a call to action. Whether you like this or not, hit the like and subscribe button. If you'd like to really jump into the... God damn it. If you'd like to really jump the fence and live for yourself, follow the links below and kick it to the man in style with rare and unique items. Back to the video. Now I'll bond all these colors together in a unifying glaze, using Voodoo shade mainly. I'll leave the face out of it and use warm skin shade instead, but everything else will be bathed in a diluted coat of Voodoo shade. This wash is perfect. Between this or Desolate Brown, there's a unifying wash for any color. Whenever I'm trying to make some kind of Blanchean madness, I find myself entirely encasing the model in one of those 2, either the wash or the speed paint being Desolate Brown. I left the washes to dry and set the model aside for the night. Sharing my palette view is going to be messy, and I'll have to refresh some paints. The next phase will be a round of highlights in very small portions. You see, every area is rendered well enough for its expected quality, kind of loose, but with targeted highlights polishing the upward-facing angles and a few specular highlights where applicable. Every highlight will be made by mixing Ivory White into the local color. Previously, I was wet blending these tones, and now I'm mixing small puddles of paint to match the brightest volume, and then go just a little bit brighter. All the metallics will get a final capping of my brightest silver using Mithril in this case. The banner needs something. I'll try to draft up an arcane hex. Playing off my own signature will be a fun way to sign the piece and place the design in an area that asks for it. I thought about a more elaborate scene, but some scratchy lines with a couple colors will look good on the table and read well from a distance. These are the excuses we tell ourselves to do simple work. To bond that design better to the surface, I'll go in and trace over my shadows, the lower facing angles with Voodoo shade. Once that is fully dry, I'll crappily mask off the model. I want to protect its face. Then I'll take this beheaded brush, dab it into the Voodoo shade, using my thumb to pull back on the bristles, just throw some crud at the model. It shows up very nicely, makes the banner look all tattered and field worn. Easy and effective. That's why we come here together to these videos. The brazier needs a lift as well. First, taking care of the coals, I'll mix the darkness in with Moonbeam yellow just to, make a much deeper tone to represent the more firm areas of the coals. And then layers of data system glow and lens flare glow from the effects line. These are fluorescent paints, and I enjoy the variety of material that they can add so simply, especially when I'm working on tabletop models like this. I feel like these, there's more effects being brought to the table in the form of weathering powders, flicking washes around, and fluorescent paints too. High five! A trench priest is born in the flesh of old. The days of pewter models are behind us, and eventually there will be no more. I lift my glass to the coming change as the miniature casting technology advances. I'm happy to see it, but I'm also happy to look back with a fondness at where things started. I'm having a lot of fun kit bashing this growing force and pulling whatever models I decide are appropriate into it. Maybe I'll even break outside of Warhammer 40k one day. I could make a Battletech mech or kind of a dreadnought based mini rig. Who knows? The sky is the limit. So I hope that this helped to stir your imagination up and inspire your own painting. Please let me know how you feel in the comment section down below. I'm always happy to hear from you. Until we meet again, my friends, remain unchained.